r/ProRevenge.
Teacher makes false claim of me faking an injury, so my mom messes with her career. I apologize for the format, I'm typing this on my cracked phone screen. I, 15, F, have had a long and elaborate history with injuries, especially breaking my arm. Starting from literally the day I was born, my health has been complicated. I have a few conditions but none serious enough to impact my daily life as I know it. I have a very weak immune system and somewhat easy to break bones. On top of that, I am the definition of clumsy, and I'm also a huge idiot who gets herself into dangerous situations for fun. My mom, 40, F, has obviously known me from birth and knows just the extent of my weird bad luck and health issues. I've broken my arms a collective 13 times over my entire life, and almost every time I got injured or sick, it seems somebody had something to say about it. But teachers just love to say that students that get hurt often are attention-seeking fakers, and a lot of relationships with authority figures have been harmful because of this. Every time it's the same. For some reason a teacher doesn't believe me, they call me a liar in front of everyone, I get bullied for a while, and then I have to try and prove that I'm not faking. I could post so many stories about teachers doing this, but this is a story about the time my mom actually managed to get revenge. This all took place around 7th grade. I was 12 at the time and I had broken my wrist by climbing on top of something I wasn't supposed to and then falling off like a dumbass. My wrist was in a Velcro cast since I'm very allergic to the regular cast material, as they figured out through many cases of trial and error. My teacher. Let's call her Mrs. Tab. Since this took place while we were learning about Egyptian tablets. She taught history and our personalities clashed a bit. I'm more of a creative, adventurous, free thinker type and she was very conservative, by the book, and proper. We hadn't had any real issues before this but we just didn't mesh well. She was absent one day and we had a sub in. I knew the sub as one of my teacher's friends and one of my bully's mom. I didn't like her but I was still respectful in class and just tried to get my work done. She got me in trouble for doodling on my paper once or twice but other than that everything was fine, or so I thought. The next day I went into class like usual. We were working on an assignment about Egypt and their tables when Mrs. Tab called me over to her desk. I went over, thinking she'd just get onto me for drawing on the back of my homework or something, only to get bombarded with a bunch of really weird questions. The interaction went something like, "Teacher. So, Fire, do you know why I've called you up here? I know Fire isn't my Reddit name but it's my Earl nickname so I'm using it here. Me. No ma'am, I can't say that I do. Teacher. How long have you had that cast? Me. About a week now. Why? Teacher. Do you really need that cast? Me. Yes? Teacher. Well, the substitute told me she saw you take it off. Me. It's a cast, I can't take it off, it would hurt. Teacher. So if I asked the class they'd say you need that cast. Me. Yes? Teacher. And if I called your parents right now they'd say the same thing. Me. Yes, they were the ones who took me to the hospital. And she did this in front of the whole class. I was eventually dismissed and people looked at me weird for the rest of class. As I later learned, apparently the substitute had told Mrs. Tab that I'd taken off my cast as soon as I left class, I didn't, and that I threw it in my locker like ha ha ha, I'm getting away with doing less work. So basically she pretended I was a bad guy in a crappy high school movie. I get why she said this but it had my teacher convinced that I was a liar and a fake. I technically could remove my cast since it was Velcro but that would have been extremely painful and it's not like I could just walk around without it. I wasn't going to make a big deal about it at the time but it turns out she was serious about calling my parents. But she made the mistake of calling my mom. Now me and my mother don't have a perfect relationship, she has anger issues so we don't always get along well, but she loves me very much and doesn't let people like this mess with me if she can stop it. According to my mom. Mrs. Tab. Let called her all cocky and said things like, apparently your daughter is wearing a cast, did you know that? And well, we all know how dramatic teenage girls can be. Especially unique kids like her. She apparently even threatened to have me suspended before my mom stopped her and tore her to shreds for talking about her child like that. I don't think I'm allowed to repeat what was said, but by the end, Mrs. Tab. Len had to retreat with her tail tucked between her legs. She started being even more cold to me after that day and started giving me unfair detentions for not sitting still and doodling on the side of my worksheets. Even then, outside of school we went to the same art studio sometimes. Weird that someone who hates art so much likes to paint, and poisoned the art director against me and got me put into a lower class. When me mom found out about this, she started the real revenge. My mom has never been a PTA mom. She honestly can't stand most of the PTA members, and their kids are chosen as favorites at my school and use this power to bully others, including me and my friends. My mom is, however, friends with a very lovely woman on the county school board, which has more power than the PTA. She told her friend everything that had happened and supplied all the doctor's notes needed to prove I needed my cast. Her friend managed to convince the rest of the board that Mrs. Tab was discriminating against an impaired student, given her comments about me being slower at work and just wearing the cast to slack off, along with detentions related to me not sitting still when she knew I had nervous movements and slight ADHD. At the art studio, my mother pulled me from the classes. I took it upon myself to inform the fellow kids about why, and rumors spread quickly. Soon enough kids were getting pulled left and right, and my art teacher was pulling at strings to try and get the situation under control. I actually think the studio went into temporary closure before reopening again. She was suspended for a week to go under investigation, and it turns out she treated a lot of the unique, as she put it, students in a similar way. She was verbally reprimanded by 2 different departments, and instead of getting her standard raise over the next 3 years, she'll only get half of that. Not only that, but she had to retake a course on how to properly treat students, and if she's ever caught to cross this line again, she'll lose tenure. She'll just be getting her bonus back at the start of next school year, and I'd just like to say that I hope she learned her lesson. Smile. TL, Doctor. Teacher claims I'm faking my broken wrist, calls my mom. My mom calls her friend at the county school board and gets her suspended for discrimination, and gets unfair art program temporarily closed. Edit. I had misremembered the punishment given to that teacher. Upon asking my mom to retell the story, I fixed it to make it accurate. Thank you to the Redditor that pointed out the mistake. I suppose that my 12-year-old self remembered a raise as a bonus for some reason.
A response to the post.
Reminds me of the time my mom had to get our doctor into a meeting with my school counselor because she didn't believe I had whooping cough. Doc basically told her she was an idiot and could have caused an outbreak if they'd forced me to go to school.
A response to the post.
I also had that happen. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which not only causes me to dislocate every day, but it has also led to 9 broken bones. In my case, the principal called my mom to say I was attention-seeking by breaking my bones. What child does that? Ever? I'm now a teacher, and that kind of talk doesn't fly with me. It still happens, unfortunately, but when I hear a teacher pulling that shit, I get angry and I will overshare to get my point across, including excruciating detail about dislocated joints and what it takes to put them back together. It does tend to shut them up. Sorry you went through that up. You might want to research EDS and osteogenesis imperfecta.
A response to the post.
I'm surprised with so many cases of being clumsy a doctor hasn't diagnosed you with a bone degenerative disorder or something similar. That is wild. Plus, if I had a student that popped up every year with a different broken body part, I would personally be calling DHS in fear of abuse. I'm glad that's not the case with you, but something is definitely up, and breaking your arms 13 times within 15 years is not normal or okay. Please seek a new doctor if they refuse to give this the attention it needs.
OP's response to this comment.
I was actually suspected of being abused when I was 5 and came in with a broken arm after falling on a bed. They thought it was a bad cover-up story, but I had actually fallen on a bed and broken my arm. Some kid earlier that day had kicked my arm really hard, which cracked it, and then when I jumped on a bed it caused the crack to form a break. Also, I've never really thought about that. I'll talk to my parents and see if we can ask about it.
A response to the post.
Even if you were faking, the way she went about that was wrong on so many levels. When I taught 2nd grade, I had a chronic faker, parents were going through a divorce and she was starved for attention. I gave her pretty band-aids for her ant bites and let her linger at the water fountain extra long when she had a headache. It got better when I let her sort the mail/pass out papers. Then she could flit around like a butterfly and have attention without malingering. Middle schoolers are in even more dire need of positive attention. Kids are mean, yo.